I will show you step by step how you can create an AI agent connected to the MCP server of Apify and then with a front end built by Lovable. So let's dive in. Okay, the first thing I want to do is introduce you to Apify. So let's go to apify.com. You can get started and then go to your console. So let's do that. And this platform is absolutely amazing. You can do everything you want because they make it really simple to build solutions based on other APIs. So if you go to the API store, we have all these actors here. So we have a website content crawler, we have a Google Maps scraper, an Instagram scraper, a Twitter scraper. We have 4,000 actors that we can just plug in and use. For example, we can click on social media and you can do an Instagram reel scraper. If you can think about it, Apify probably has it. We have a Reddit scraper. They even have a LinkedIn scraper. So a lot of awesome stuff here. And the nice thing is that we can use all these actors within one MCP server. So this makes it super easy to build AI solutions based on real data, live data. And the thing is, it was already pretty easy to build things with Apify, but now that it also supports an MCP server, it's like too easy to build amazing stuff. So now that you understand what the Apify platform is all about, we can actually start building. So you need an account for this. I have a paid account because we have other things running on this as well. But with a lot of these scrapers, for example, you just pay per usage. So it isn't that expensive and you can really simply, with this name, start building with it. And I will explain you everything, so don't worry about that. The next step we need to do is we need to make sure we can install MCP in n8n. So we need to go to Elestio and we can deploy our n8n here. So you can create an account. I already have an account, so let's log in. And obviously I already built with this, so I already have a service running, but we now need to create a new service. And we need to put in n8n here. We can select. You can choose the region where you want it to run. And obviously you have all these different types of service plans and you can upgrade. I upgraded because it's just a bit nicer to develop in a better environment, obviously, but this one works as well. So we have this, we can do next, we can give it a name. So for now that is all right. You have your admin email and we can then create our service. So it's $15 based on 1 month of usage. We can click on create service. So let's do that now. It's deploying our service. Okay, so our service is being deployed. We have to wait for, I think, a minute or so. Okay, so now that we have self-hosted our n8n, we need to click on the service and we can copy our URL here. So let's go to the browser and we need to set up our owner account. So let's do that now. Okay, perfect. So we now have our n8n and the first thing we need to do is install our MCP server. So we need to go to the 3 dots here, go to settings, and then we have community nodes here. So let's click on that. And then we need to go to the GitHub of n8n nodes for MCP. So we have this GitHub repository and we have this setup guide here. So it explains everything that we need to do to install n8n MCP servers. So what we now just need to do is copy this and paste that here. Okay, I understand the risks. Let's go. So we need to install it. Perfect. We have installed MCP. And what we now need to do is, if you go to the setup guide, we need to set up community nodes as a tool. So we can copy this. We then go to our Elestio and we can then click on update config. And this is the hardest thing we need to do today. So just click on update config. It will open this config and we need to paste in here what we just have copied. So let's remove that. Let's make dots from here and let's add a space. Okay, perfect. So it turns all pink now. Let's update and restart. And then we have our n8n server correctly configured. And then we can actually start building. So let's wait for the container to be restarted. Okay, perfect. So let's go back to our n8n. We can go back to the overview and then we can start creating our AI agent. And I think it's now time for me to explain what we are going to build. So one thing that is still very traditional on the internet is the searching method for places to stay. So if I'm going to a booking.com or an Airbnb, I still need to work with filters and a bit of a headache, to be honest. And I think this is going to change in the future, and we can just either talk to our phone and say what we are looking for. So a house in the south of Spain or in Japan or you name it, and then we can get some results based on our natural language query. So I really wanted to build something like that, and Apify enables this. Because if we go back to Apify, we have all these different actors. So we have a Google Maps scraper, we can have a TikTok data extractor. So I was thinking, let's build a hotel or Airbnb recommender that will also do some research to places and provide TikTok videos based on that location. So we can say, hey, I'm looking for a place to go to in Tokyo. And then for a specific Airbnb, for example, let's look if we can find any videos about it or videos that are very close to this location. So we can do some cultural stuff that is very close. So I wanted to build that. So let's do that now. We are going to create a front end with Lovable. And then at the end of this video, we just have a working prototype of something that is, I think, a really valuable product that you could actually sell. Let's go to n8n. We want to start from scratch. And for testing purposes, we are going to first test this with chat. And then obviously we want to make a webhook from this. So for now, we start on chat message and then create an AI agent. Okay, perfect. So this is set up now. Let's go to OpenAI, make an API key and connect the large language model to the agent. So let's go to API keys and let's create a new secret. n8n test. Okay, so we have this key. We now can click on chat model. Then we go to OpenAI chat model, select credential. Obviously it's a new account, so we have no credentials yet. So let's create this. Okay, perfect. Let's save it. Okay, so we have now connected a large language model to our AI agent, and now the fun part starts because we want to use the Apify MCP server so that we can do research to places. So if we say I want a nice hostel in Tokyo, for example, then it will come up with some results of hostels in Tokyo. And then with those results, we want to do some research on TikTok so we can provide the user a really nice overview of where they might want to stay. What we now need to do is we need to add a new credential. And this is the part where you should really be focused, because once we have done that, we can really start building and the fun parts really start. So if you go to overview, let's save this. We can go to credentials and we can add a new credential. So we click on create credential. And if we look for MCP, we can choose between stdio or SSE. So let's go for stdio. So let's click on that. We click on continue. And now we have a command, we have arguments, and we have an environment which we need to fill in. So if we go back to the n8n GitHub, we can find everything we need to set this up. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to get a command, and that is npx. So you can copy that and paste that here. And now we need to add the argument to run the MCP server. And if we go to Apify store, we can also look up MCP here. So we have this actor's MCP server here. And we can copy this and we can connect to this actor's MCP server. And this actor's MCP server is connected to all the different actors, the Google Maps actor, the LinkedIn actor, everything that you can think of is connected to this actor's MCP server. So this is crafted by Apify. This works really great. So we need to have this Y. So we go Y and then we do add and then the location to this MCP server. So the way we can now add different actors to our MCP server is really simple. So we go to Apify again, and if we go to the Apify store, we can choose from all these different actors. So let's say we want the Google Maps scraper. We can copy this and we can then say _actors, and then we can just paste the path to the API that we want to use. So we want the Google Maps places, and you can make it as crazy as you want here. So let's go to the Apify store, and we want the TikTok data as well. So we copy this, and you need to be sharp here because we need to do comma and then the next path. No spaces in between, then it won't work, but a comma and then directly after that the path. And we now have added multiple actors to our MCP server of Apify, and this is so powerful. We can really make some cool stuff here. We need to go to expression instead of fixed. We can then do Apify token equals and then get our Apify API key and paste it here. So we can find that by going to settings, to API and integrations, and then copy our API key and paste it in here. So let's do that. Okay, perfect. Let's save it. Okay, awesome. So now we have our MCP client set up. We can go to our workflow again, and we can now add a tool. So let's go to tools. Let's type in MCP, choose the correct credentials, and then for now, let's test if it's working by using list tools. So now that we have added our MCP client, let's test if it's working. So let's do, hey, what kind of tools do you have? And it's going to call our list tools, and we should get an overview of the tools that we have just added from Apify. Perfect. So we have our Google Places crawler, we have a free TikTok scraper, and we can also discover actors and get actor details, and this is a default. So if we were to say use Instagram as a source, then we can discover the Instagram actor and get the actor details for that as well to then later add it. Okay, so perfect. This is now working. Let's now make the actual agent and make sure that we get the correct functionality so that we can then give the data to our Lovable front end and make a real app. So you can really build anything that you want. You can just go to Apify, look through all the actors. I would really suggest doing this. There is so much you can do here and it saves a lot of time. This is all just in one place, which makes it really nice. Okay, so what we now need to do is we need to add a new tool, and we can add MCP client again. But now instead of listing tools, we want to execute the tool. And the thing is, you can do this dynamically. So we can do an expression and then let AI choose which tool we want. But for now, this is pretty basic. We want to use the Google Maps API and then use TikTok to enrich that data. So we can now just look for the correct tool name, and we have our response here. So we need to use the compass/crawler Google Places API. So let's add that here. So we say tool name is this. Perfect. And let's call this Google Maps. And we can now give in some parameters. And the first time that I ran this, it went on and got 1000 results from the Google Maps API. And it was pretty expensive. It was $7 or something, but still, it's not necessary. So I would suggest hard coding the amount of results in here. And you could do this in the agent instructions as well, but I think it's also fine to just hard code this. So what we need to do is we need to go to our Apify store. We need to go to Google Maps scraper, and then we can click on JSON here, and we'll have our input JSON here. So we can copy this and paste that inside of our tool parameters. And obviously, some of these things are fine if they are hard coded. Max crawled places per search, that is 1. Let's make that to 3. But what we are looking for should be dynamically, obviously, because the prompt of the user can be different every time. So we want the location query and the search string array to be different every time. So how we can do that is we need to go to an expression. So we can say from AI looking for, and then give a description that this means the kind of place we are looking for. Okay, perfect. So this is fixed now. Let's go to the location as well and do the same here. Location, And for simplicity, let's also add the location we are looking for. And because we are not dynamically choosing a tool, we can set these tool parameters fixed, which makes it a bit easier to work with now. So we have the max results as well. Okay, perfect. So we go back to the canvas, and we did not do any changes to the system prompt yet. So I think we should do that now. So we can click on system message here, and we say you are a helpful assistant. We look for good places to recommend to our clients. Please return them in the following format. And this is because in our Lovable app, we want to show it in a nice way. We don't want it to be a chat interface only, where you will just have your chat response, because that's already what ChatGPT is doing as well. And I think it's way nicer to have these images. We have maybe some tags, we have the ratings, all in a nice formatted way. So let's make the output format like this. Okay, so we have that here. So it's really simple. We have an ID, we have a name of the location, we have an image, we have a description of the place, we have the ratings, we have the location and the tags, and we have multiple recommendations, obviously. So we want to get that in a structured way. Okay, awesome. And after we have tested the Google Maps integration, we are also going to add some TikTok fields for this as well. So let's now test it out and see if we get the correct response. Let's also get this name and put that into our system message as well. Okay, so we have our response format. We say it what to do. Let's run it. So let's say we want to go to a nice hotel in Tokyo. Okay, so it's directly going to execute the tool for Google Maps, and it will fill in the fields that we have just entered, and we'll get a result. So we can now also go to our Apify dashboard, and we can go to runs. And we can now see here that it is running, and we can check if everything is going correctly here. Also make sure that you had the maximum amounts, because we can see that it can get pretty large here. So we have the max results. Perfect. So now we have 3 results. And I think if you were to do this in production, you would also want to filter on the scores, the amount of reviews maybe. But for now, this is absolutely fine. It took 37 seconds, so it took a bit long, but let's see if we got the correct result. Okay, so we have the ID, we have the name, we got a description, a rating, a location, and we get some tags. Perfect, and then we get it for the second one as well. Okay, so now I see that we have only got 2 results, while we retrieved 3 results here. Okay, so I have adjusted the prompt, so we have results and then get all the results in a list. So this is working now. We got our recommendations, and the next step is to do TikTok research on these locations, so we can suggest some places, but we can actually show footage from real persons. We already added the TikTok scraper to our MCP server. So the only thing that we now need to do is add a new tool, which will be the MCP client tool once again. We can then use execute tool. We can list the tools once again. Okay, so we have a result. We have our clockworks/free TikTok scraper here. So let's copy that. We go to our new tool. We add our name here. Let's rename it as well. TikTok. Okay, perfect. So if we now go to our actors, we have our TikTok data extractor, and we can once again go to the JSON, and we'll have this JSON here as well. And then instead of for you page, we go make an expression from AI tags. And then I say description, we'll add the things we want to look for. Okay, so this is set up now, but we now need to adjust the system prompt as well, so that it works together with the TikTok API and the Google Maps API, so that we'll have one result we can give to our Lovable app. So let's adjust the system prompt here, and we'll add TikTok URLs. Okay, so for simplicity, we'll just make it one URL. Okay, awesome. So we will now add TikTok URLs to our results. So let's instruct that as well. Then after we have these suggestions, look for TikTok videos on these locations specifically. Give that in the JSON as well. Okay, awesome. So let's now test it out. So we need to make 10 results per page, otherwise it's just taking too much time. So let's say I am looking for a bed and breakfast to stay on the Zaanse Schans in the Netherlands. So let's run that. It's directly using the Google Maps MCP server. Let's go to Apify to check if it is all going correctly. So we have this result, and if we go here, we are now using the TikTok MCP server. And if we go to our Apify dashboard, we can see here that we have fetched all these results. And if we go back to n8n, this has correctly run as well. And we have our TikTok result here. So we have these results, we have a name, we have a description, we have a rating, we have a location, we have tags, and we also have a TikTok video. So let's go to this URL and check it out. Okay, so I can really see this working. We have a nice video about it. It really gives an idea of where we're going and what we're booking. So really cool. We now have this result, and we now basically want to put this into a nice front end. And we can do this with Lovable. So if we now go back to our workflow, we have it working. We have our structured result. And what we are now going to do is we are going to go to Lovable. We can go to our dashboard, and we need to give it one good prompt. So let's open ChatGPT, and we are going to make the following prompt. Okay, so I have just created an AI agent, and with a chat interface, we can basically say what we are looking for, and more specifically, we are looking for places to recommend. So hotels that we can recommend, or a bed and breakfast, or whatever. So we want to make an interface for this where a user can basically type in what they are looking for. So for example, I'm looking for a B&B in Tokyo, for example. And with this information, we will send the query to an API endpoint that we are hosting ourselves. And it will return a JSON for one or multiple location suggestions, and we want to show these locations to the user in a nice way. And what we also have is we have a TikTok URL, and we want to enable the user to click on that URL and look at the video. I will provide you the JSON and make sure to create this front end for this. Okay, so I basically always do this when I have a large prompt. I just want to talk to ChatGPT and give me the prompt. So we now have this, and we are going to go to Lovable. We are providing it the JSON. So we'll go to n8n again, and then copy this, and let's see what it comes up with. And in the meantime, we'll prepare our n8n file to make sure that it can handle the API call. So we can see now that when the chat message is received, we'll activate our workflow. But now we want to make an API call. So we can go here, we can say webhook, and we'll have this test URL. And for now that is fine. We'll make it a post request. And for testing purposes, we'll now respond immediately. So we'll have this, we'll connect that to the AI agent. And before it was running on the input of the chat message, but now this is obviously not the case. So let's wait for our Lovable to be done. And we'll then integrate our Lovable with our n8n webhook. Okay, awesome. We now got this first design, and obviously this video is not about designing, so it's fine for now. We have our webhook here, and we need to copy this webhook URL. We'll paste that into our Lovable. So we say, please call the following endpoint for the API call. Okay. So in the backend, it will now adjust the URL we are calling to. Okay, awesome. So we now can test it out. And what we have to do is we need to go back to n8n and we need to click on listen for test event. Let's now just say hotel and EMS. Okay, let's see if it worked here. Okay, so we got our request here. And we can now see that we correctly get the query, and we now want our flow to be activated with our query of the user. We now have this, and we can connect it to the AI agent. So instead of connected chat trigger mode, we can now say define below, and we can grab this and put it here. So we now connected our Lovable app to our webhook endpoint. And if we go back to our webhook, we can see that we respond immediately, and obviously we want to wait for our agent to get the results. So let's make that to using respond to webhook node. And obviously at the end of our agent, we now need to add our webhook respond. And we'll just use the first incoming item. So we got it set up now. Let's save it and test workflow. And let's now see if we will correctly get our results. So I am looking for a hotel in Tokyo. Let's do search. Okay, finding perfect places for you. Really like this. It usually takes a few seconds. And in the meantime, we built this in, I think I did 1.5 hours to really make this work. And obviously the video is a bit shorter. But what you can build with the MCP servers of Apify is just amazing. It's really nice. I would definitely use this if I'm looking for something. And obviously I would need to fine tune it a bit further, make sure that it's working a bit quicker, maybe filter out the results based on ratings. But still, the core idea behind this is that you can really build everything you want with this Apify MCP server. Okay, so we found 3 perfect places for you. We'll have these results. We can watch on TikTok for a video. Really awesome, really cool. You can literally build anything that you would like with this Apify MCP server. I would suggest checking it out and make something fun. Look for good use cases. And if you have any questions, you can let me know. If you have enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe, because this is the only way that I can reach more people. So I see you in the next one.